If you have ever felt this, if one small inconvenience could ruin your whole mood, if one comment, one delay, one mistake, or one disrespectful tone could stay in your body long after the moment had passed, then do not be too quick to assume life itself is what is hurting you. A lot of what we call pain is not the event. It is the mind's reaction to the event. A friend of mine once told me a story from a retreat near the foothills of the Himalayas. It had rained for days. You know, the kind of mountain rain that turns every path into a swamp. The ground was covered in thick mud. Each step sank deep enough to swallow the ankle. Two people were walking the same road. The first one, let's call him Tom, stepped straight into the mud and exploded. He started complaining instantly. "What is this weather? What kind of place is this? I came here to meditate, not to suffer. Why can't they fix the road? This is ridiculous." His face tightened, his whole body turned into a field of resistance. A few steps away was another man, Jerry. Jerry stepped into the same mud, looked down, and then started laughing. He began hopping from patch to patch like a child, lifting one foot, then the other, and calling back to the others, "Hey, look at this. Do I look like I'm in a kung fu movie? Now look carefully." The conditions were identical, same altitude, same rain, same mud, the same unpleasant texture climbing up both ankles. And yet Tom felt like he was in hell. Jerry felt like he had accidentally wandered into a playground. Which means what exactly? It means the mud was not the thing creating the suffering. The suffering came from the interpretation system inside Tom's mind. Tom's mind produced one output. "This is terrible." Jerry's mind produced a different one. "This is funny." If we want to live more lightly in this world, the only real option is to change the way we see. But before we go further, we need to be careful, because this is exactly where a lot of people misunderstand the whole subject. They think this is about spiritual sugarcoating, pretending everything is fine, sitting inside a burning house and calling it peace, smiling at disaster and saying, "I choose light." That is not wisdom, that is sedation. That is just another way of refusing to face reality. Real inner work is not about painting over pain with pleasant language. It is harder than that. Because the real work is not learning to say, "Nothing is wrong." The real work is learning to see what is actually creating the suffering. And what is creating most of it is not the world. It is the self you keep trying to protect. That imagined self, that offended self, that humiliated self. That self who wants to be respected, recognized, justified, restored. Most people suffer not because life keeps attacking them, but because they are constantly defending a character in their mind. And that is why the old story of the empty boat matters so much. It may be the cleanest explanation of anger I have ever heard. Imagine this. You are rowing alone on a quiet lake. It is the weekend. The air is soft. The water is calm. You are finally relaxed. Then suddenly, another boat crashes hard into yours. Your body jolts. The boat shakes. If you were holding coffee, it probably spills. And instantly your anger rises. You turn, ready to shout. What kind of idiot is doing this? Can't you see where you are going? But when you look up, you discover the other boat is empty. No one is inside it. It came loose from somewhere upstream and simply drifted into you. And in the exact moment you realize the boat is empty, something strange happens. Your anger disappears. The collision still happened. The shaking still happened. The coffee may still be on your shirt. The physical event is exactly the same. So why does the rage vanish? Because the mind lost the target. The first version of the story included an offender, someone careless, someone disrespectful, someone who did something to me. The second version has no enemy. No one meant anything. And once the self no longer feels attacked, the anger has nothing to feed on. That is the entire mechanism. Most of the time, you are not angry because something happened. You are angry because the mind translated the event into, "This happened to me. This was against me. I was disrespected. I was diminished." That is where the fire begins. And once you start seeing that, a shocking possibility opens. What if most of what you are taking personally is just an empty boat? What if the driver who cuts you off is not attacking you, but rushing somewhere in panic? What if the boss who snaps at you is not revealing a verdict about your worth, but acting out his own chaos? What if the delayed message, the bad tone, the missed opportunity, The awkward silence are not all secret judgments about you. What if things are simply happening and your suffering begins the moment you turn those events into a story about yourself? This is what people miss. The event hurts once, then the mind takes over and keeps replaying it. I had another friend, a serious meditator, who once told me about a crowded gathering. He was sitting quietly when someone behind him hit him hard in the back, not a light touch, a real strike. For a few seconds, he was completely outraged. He thought, "This is supposed to be a spiritual gathering. Who behaves like this? What kind of person does that?" He spent the next half hour in silent fury, replaying the scene, running imaginary arguments, building a whole courtroom in his head. Then suddenly he started laughing, because he realized something embarrassingly simple. The actual physical pain had lasted maybe 5 seconds, but he had spent 30 minutes attacking himself with it. This is how most people live. The first arrow comes from outside. The second, third, and 1,000th arrow are self-inflicted. The event hurts once. Then the mind keeps manufacturing copies. Why? Because it is operating in ignorance. In older language, they called this ignorance, not seeing clearly. You mistake the mental movie for reality. You believe the insult, the loss, the inconvenience, the disrespect are absolute and solid. But in many cases, they only gain power because your identity keeps wrapping itself around them. This is why so many people misunderstand happiness. Ask the average person what would make them happy, and they will usually hand you a condition. Pay off my mortgage. Get me that car. Add a few zeros to my bank account. Give me the right body, the right relationship, the right recognition. But there is a flaw in the whole design. If happiness depends entirely on conditions, then you will always remain hostage to conditions. There is another misunderstanding too. A lot of people say happiness means doing whatever I want. That sounds free, but often it is just another trap. It reminds me of something you see in parenting all the time. A parent says, "I care deeply about my child's future." And what do they mean? They mean expensive tutoring, elite summer programs, private schools, a whole mountain of material effort. But if you ask a harder question, something becomes obvious. Have they grown inwardly? Have they become calmer, wiser, more disciplined, more present? Have they developed their own character? If not, then what is happening? They are using material effort to hide from spiritual laziness. And people do the same with happiness. They work harder, buy more things, travel more, collect more experiences, stack more symbols of success. That is material diligence. But often it covers up a deeper refusal. They do not want to sit still long enough to clean their own mind. That is why the deepest teachers keep saying the same thing. Happiness is not a gift. Happiness is a skill, not a mood, not luck, not genetics alone. A skill, the same way strength is a skill, attention is a skill, calm is a skill. You do not go to the gym once and expect a lifetime of muscle. In the same way, you do not hear one insightful conversation, read one good book, or watch one thoughtful video and become permanently free. It does not work like that. You train happiness by watching the mind while it moves. You train it when anger rises, and you are able, just a little sooner, to recognize the empty boat. You train it when anxiety comes, and you see it not as truth, but as self-protection in costume. You train it when the self says, "How could this happen to me?" And something quieter in you answers, "Maybe this is just life, and maybe I do not need to turn it into an identity wound." That practice is not glamorous. It is repetitive, daily, ordinary, but it is the only road that leads anywhere real. So stop looking outward. The bird you keep chasing is not in the house, the title, the car, the applause, or the perfect partner. It is in the mind that can finally see clearly. It is in the heart that no longer has to turn every impact into a personal injury. It is in the one who can sit in the boat, feel the collision, notice the reaction, and ask, before the anger becomes a world, was there really someone attacking me? Or was the boat empty? This is Otherworld Radio. The world will keep colliding with you. Mud will still exist. Boats will still hit your boat. People will still be clumsy, tired, selfish, wounded, distracted, and unskilled. The question is not whether life will stop happening. The question is whether every collision still has permission to become your suffering. The moment you see the empty boat, something in you becomes lighter, and maybe that is where happiness actually begins.